Let me ask you something. Have you ever felt like no matter how much love, patience, and kindness you show someone, it's never enough? Like they just take and take, leaving you drained, questioning your worth, and wondering if you're the problem? Well, I have news for you. You are not the problem. You're dealing with a narcissist, and the more kindness you give, the more they feed off it. Today, I'm going to give you 7 powerful reasons why you need to stop being kind to a narcissist. Not for their sake, but for yours. You think kindness is a universal language, right? A bridge between people, a force for good? That's what they want you to believe. That's what they count on. But to a narcissist, kindness is not a virtue. It's a currency they can spend. It's a tool they wield. It's a weapon they turn against you while you're too busy believing in the goodness of others to notice the damage being done. They see your empathy, your generosity, your heart, and they don't see something to be cherished. They see an opening. They see a door cracked just wide enough for them to slip in, make themselves comfortable, and start rearranging the furniture of your life. They see the keys to your kingdom sitting out on the counter, waiting for them to take control. They know how to play the long game. The first time they take from you, it's small, just a little favor, just a small inconvenience, a test. A way to measure just how much you're willing to give, how far you'll bend before you break. And when you don't break, when you offer more, when you keep saying yes, keep showing up, keep excusing, keep forgiving, that's when they know they've got you. That's when they know they can take without giving. That's when they expect it. It's subtle at first. You help them out and they're grateful, they thank you, they make you feel appreciated, maybe even special. But over time, that thank you disappears. That gratitude fades. They stop seeing your kindness as a choice and start treating it as an obligation, like it's your job to fix their problems, to cater to their needs, to make their life easier at the cost of your own. And you, because you're kind, because you care, don't even realize it's happening. You convince yourself they just need help, that it's temporary, that they'd do the same for you. But deep down, something feels off, doesn't it? There's a nagging doubt, a tiny voice inside that tells you something isn't right. You feel drained. You feel unappreciated. You feel like no matter how much you give, it's never enough. Because to them, it's not. They push further. They start making you feel guilty when you say no. They twist your empathy, making you question yourself. I thought you cared about me. If you really loved me, you'd help me. You're the only one I can count on. And that's how they keep you trapped. Because you don't want to be the bad guy. You don't want to be selfish. You don't want to stop being the kind, caring person you are. But let me tell you something. There is nothing selfish about setting boundaries. There is nothing cruel about saying no. There is nothing wrong with expecting mutual respect, with demanding reciprocity, with choosing yourself. They don't deserve your kindness if they only take. They don't deserve your energy if they only drain. They don't deserve your loyalty if they twist it into a leash. Because here's the truth. They will never stop. They will never wake up one day and suddenly appreciate you. They will never look in the mirror and realize how much they've taken from you. That moment of reckoning you're waiting for, that apology, that understanding, it's not coming. Because they don't see you the way you see them. You see a relationship, a friendship, a bond. They see a resource. They see supply. They see someone they can mold, manipulate, and extract from until there is nothing left. And when you're empty, when you're exhausted, when you finally stand up for yourself, that's when they leave. That's when they discard you like yesterday's news. Not because they feel guilty, not because they've learned a lesson, but because they've found someone else, a new source, a fresh supply, and they will drain them just like they drained you. But you don't have to let it happen. You don't have to keep playing their game. You don't have to prove your worth to someone who never valued you in the first place. You can take your power back. You can recognize their tactics, see through their manipulation, and refuse to participate. Your kindness is not a weakness. It is not a flaw. It is not something to be exploited. It is a gift, but only for those who deserve it, only for those who appreciate it. So stop giving to those who only take. Stop excusing those who never apologize. Stop making space for those who don't respect yours. Because your kindness is meant for more than being someone else's weapon. It is meant to build, to uplift, to inspire. It is meant for those who see you, who cherish you, who give as much as they receive. So protect it. Protect yourself. And remember, the moment someone treats your kindness like a weakness is the moment they prove they never deserved it in the first place. Listen to me. You cannot love a narcissist into being a better person. You cannot heal them with your kindness, nor can you fix them with your patience. It doesn't matter how much love you pour into them, how much understanding you extend, or how deeply you sacrifice yourself in the process. They will never change simply because of the love you give. Some of you have spent years thinking, maybe if I show them enough love, they'll finally see my worth. Maybe if I am patient enough, they will recognize the pain they have caused and choose to change. But they won't. And it's not because you're not enough. It's not because you haven't given enough, loved enough, or fought hard enough. It's because they don't believe they need to change. They do not see a problem with their behavior. And when a person does not believe they are wrong, they have no motivation to become better. A narcissist is like a bottomless pit. You keep pouring your kindness into it, hoping one day it will finally fill up, that they will finally be full, that they will finally be satisfied and give you the love you so freely give to them. But it never happens. It never will. You can pour and pour and pour until you are drained, empty, and exhausted. You can give and give until there is nothing left of you. But the pit remains bottomless. It remains insatiable. It remains selfish. You have been conditioned to believe that if you just give a little more, if you just love a little harder, if you just endure a little longer, you will finally get the version of them you dreamed of. That the coldness will melt away, that the cruelty will be replaced with kindness, that the distance will turn into closeness. But every time you reach that moment where you think you've broken through, they do something to remind you exactly who they are. They throw your kindness back in your face. They take your patience and twist it into an invitation to take more from you. They see your endurance not as something to be respected, but as something to be exploited. How many times have you given them the benefit of the doubt only for them to prove you wrong? How many times have you made excuses for them, hoping that this time would be different? How many times have you sacrificed your own happiness, your own needs, your own sanity just to keep the peace? And yet, has anything changed? Have they changed, or are you the only one who has suffered while they continue to take and take and take? A narcissist does not change because they do not believe they have to. They see the world through a lens where they are always right, where they are always the victim, where any pain they cause is justified, excused, or ignored. They do not see the harm they inflict because acknowledging it would mean taking responsibility, and responsibility is something they refuse to carry. So you keep giving, you keep trying, you keep hoping, and they keep showing you that no matter what you do, it will never be enough. Because nothing is ever enough for someone who only takes. Nothing is ever enough for someone who does not know gratitude, who does not feel empathy, who does not care how deeply they hurt you. And I know what you're thinking. I know the fear that grips you when you consider walking away. What if I leave and they finally change for someone else? What if I am the problem? What if I just try one more time? But listen to me, they will not change for someone else because the issue was never you. It was never about you not being enough. It was never about you not loving them the right way. It was never about you not being patient enough. The issue was always that they do not see a reason to change. You are not responsible for fixing them. You are not responsible for healing them. You are not responsible for carrying the weight of their wounds. That is their journey. And if they ever do decide to change, it will not be because of your suffering. It will not be because of your pain. It will be because they choose to look in the mirror and take accountability, something a true narcissist rarely does. You have to understand that your love is valuable. Your kindness is rare. Your heart is precious. And if someone cannot see that, if someone cannot cherish what you give, if someone can look at all your efforts and still choose to mistreat you, they do not deserve access to you. They do not deserve your love, your time, or your energy. I know it's hard. I know that walking away feels like failure. I know that letting go feels like giving up. But staying in a place where you are constantly devalued, where you are constantly made to feel like you are not enough, where you are constantly being drained of everything that makes you who you are, that is not love. That is not kindness. That is not patience. That is self-destruction. You deserve to be loved in a way that does not require suffering. You deserve to be seen in a way that does not require constant proving. You deserve to be with people who recognize your worth without you having to beg for it. So let them go. Let go of the hope that they will wake up one day and suddenly treat you right. Let go of the fantasy that your love will be the thing that saves them. Let go of the illusion that if you just do more, you will finally be enough for them. You are already enough. You always have been. And if they cannot see that, it is not your job to convince them. Choose yourself, choose your peace, choose your happiness. Because in the end, the person who truly deserves your love, your kindness, and your patience is you. You ever wonder why, after spending time with them, you feel like a hollowed out version of yourself? Like something inside you has been siphoned away drop by drop until there's barely anything left? That's not a coincidence. That's not a misunderstanding. That's not just a rough patch or a personality quirk you need to be patient with. No, that's by design. A narcissist thrives on your energy. They don't just take what's freely given, they extract it, manipulate it, consume it, and then come back for more. And the most dangerous part, they make you believe that you're the one giving it willingly, that your kindness, your empathy, your patience, your love, it's all just part of being in a relationship, part of what it means to care for someone. But this isn't care, this isn't love, this is a transaction. And you're the only one paying the price. You see, a narcissist is not fueled by the love you give them. They are fueled by your reactions, by your pain, by your confusion, by the sheer exhaustion that settles into your bones after yet another argument that went in circles, yet another silent treatment that left you feeling abandoned, yet another moment where you doubted your own worth because they made you feel like nothing you ever did was enough. That's what they feed on. That's their fuel, your energy, and they will do anything to keep that supply going. Have you ever noticed how they create chaos out of nowhere? How you can be having a perfectly fine day, feeling good, and then suddenly, boom, a snide remark, a passive-aggressive jab, a cruel joke at your expense, and before you even realize what's happening, you're defending yourself. You're explaining, you're scrambling to prove that you're not what they just accused you of being, that you're not crazy, that you're not selfish, that you're not too sensitive. They set the fire and then sit back to watch you put it out. And as you do, they smile. Maybe not outwardly, maybe not in a way that you can call them out on, but it's there, that satisfaction, that twisted sense of power they get from knowing they control your emotions, that they can break you down and make you react at will. And then, just when you think you've figured it out, just when you start to pull back, when you start to protect yourself, they switch tactics. They pull you back in. They shower you with affection, with apologies, with promises. They tell you they love you, that they need you, that they don't know what they'd do without you. And just like that, you're back in the cycle, handing them your energy, your spirit, your heart on a silver platter, because that's what they do. They keep you in a constant state of emotional whiplash. When they sense you pulling away, they reel you back in with just enough kindness, just enough hope, just enough of the person you first fell for. And for a moment, you believe it. You breathe again. You tell yourself it was just a misunderstanding, that maybe things will be different this time, but it won't be different. Because a narcissist doesn't change. They don't suddenly wake up and realize the damage they've done. They don't develop empathy overnight. They don't start loving you the way you deserve to be loved, because they never did in the first place. They don't love in the way you understand love. They love in a way that serves them, that feeds them, that keeps them in control. And here's the hardest truth of all. The only way to win this game is to stop playing. Because as long as you keep feeding them, as long as you keep reacting, as long as you keep believing that if you just try harder, love them better, be more patient, be less demanding, then maybe, just maybe, they'll change. Then you are giving them exactly what they want, your energy, your life force, your power, and you are not here to be someone else's fuel. You are not here to spend your days walking on eggshells, second-guessing yourself, apologizing for things that weren't your fault, justifying your pain, explaining yourself over and over and over again to someone who has already decided that your suffering is their entertainment. So what do? How do you break free? You stop reacting. You stop explaining. You stop giving them your energy. You realize that their chaos is not yours to fix, that their insults are not yours to defend against, that their silent treatments are not a punishment but a gift, because every moment of silence from them is a moment where you get to reclaim yourself, a moment where you get to breathe, a moment where you get to see clearly without the fog of their manipulation clouding your vision. And then you walk away, not in anger, not in revenge, but in power. Because the moment you stop feeding them, the moment you take your energy back, the moment you say no more, they lose. Not because you fought harder, not because you convinced them to see your worth, but because you finally saw it for yourself. And that is the one thing they can't take from you. Here's a truth most people don't realize until it's too late. The more devoted you are to a narcissist, the less they respect you. The more distant you become, the more they crave your presence. It's a cruel irony that shakes the foundation of how we understand love and relationships, yet it plays out time and time again in the lives of those who find themselves entangled with such individuals. They don't value love, they value control. Think about that relationship where you were always available, always caring, always willing to give. You showed up, you poured your heart out, you sacrificed, and what happened? They dismissed you, took you for granted, and treated you as if your presence was nothing special. But then, the moment you pulled away, the moment you started to reclaim your power, focused on yourself and stopped revolving around them, that's when they came running. Suddenly they were calling, texting, professing their love, acting as though you were the missing piece in their world. That's not love. That's a game of dominance, because narcissists don't chase love. They chase power. And power is only intoxicating to them when it feels like they might lose it. When you are devoted, when you are constant, when you are loyal beyond reason, they don't see that as a gift. They see it as a given. Your presence becomes predictable, and in their twisted perception, predictable means worthless. Have you ever noticed how they thrive on emotional chaos? How they seem to get some twisted satisfaction from making you question yourself? That's because their sense of power is fed by your uncertainty. When you feel unstable, they feel in control. When you are lost in confusion, they stand tall in certainty. They manufacture the very turmoil that keeps you tethered to them, feeding off your emotional responses like oxygen. You tell yourself, if I love harder, if I give more, if I prove my worth, maybe they will see how much I care. But here's the truth. They already see it, and they are using it against you. To them, devotion is weakness. It's a leash around your neck that they control, tightening or loosening it based on how much attention they want at any given moment. When they feel you slipping away, they panic. Not because they miss you, but because they miss the power they had over you. That's why they suddenly become the person you always wanted them to be. It's why they suddenly say the words you were dying to hear. Why they suddenly shower you with attention and make you feel like you are the most important person in their world. But it's not about love. It never was. It's about them reestablishing dominance. It's about resetting the balance in their favor. Because the moment they have you back, the moment they sense your devotion again, the cycle repeats. They pull away. They devalue you. They leave you wondering what changed when the truth is nothing did. This is the pattern. This is the trap. So how do you break free? You stop playing their game. You take back your power by refusing to participate in the push and pull dynamic they thrive on. You recognize that your worth is not tied to how much you can endure. Your love is not a bargaining chip. Your devotion is not a currency they get to manipulate. You reclaim your dignity by walking away, by choosing yourself, by understanding that true love does not demand that you prove your value over and over again. True love does not make you question your worth. True love does not require you to shrink so that someone else can feel big. This is where the real battle is fought, not with them, but within yourself. Because the hardest part is not seeing their tactics. It's believing that you deserve better. It's standing firm when they come back with their empty apologies and sugar-coated promises. It's resisting the urge to believe just one more time that maybe this time will be different. It won't, because they reward distance, not devotion. And the moment you understand that, the moment you truly accept that, is the moment you set yourself free. You were never meant to beg for love. You were never meant to be someone's option while making them your priority. You were never meant to dim your light so someone else could feel bright. So walk away, not because they stopped loving you, but because they never truly did. Walk away because you deserve a love that doesn't require you to suffer first. Walk away because you deserve peace. Because in the end, the most powerful thing you can do is this: refuse to be an option for someone who never saw you as a priority. And when you do, watch how quickly they realize what they lost. Not because they loved you, but because they lost control. But by then, it won't matter, because you will have finally chosen yourself. You're still holding on, aren't you? Even after everything, after all the ways they've hurt you, you hesitate, you second-guess yourself. You convince yourself that maybe you're overreacting. Maybe it wasn't that bad. Maybe you're being too harsh. Because deep down, you don't want to be mean. You don't want to hurt them. You don't want to be the person who walks away and causes someone else pain. But let's be honest. When have they ever worried about causing you pain? When have they ever sat up at night, replaying every cruel word they said to you, feeling sick with regret? Have they ever looked into your eyes and truly, deeply, sincerely apologized? Not because they were caught, not because they wanted something, but because they genuinely felt remorse? You know the answer, and it's time to face the truth. A narcissist will never feel guilty for what they've done to you. Not in the way you do. Not in the way that keeps you up at night wrestling with your own conscience. Not in the way that makes you hesitate before you speak, worrying about how your words might make someone else feel. They don't feel that weight. They don't carry that burden. But they're more than happy to make sure you do. That's the thing about narcissists. They know exactly how to manipulate your kindness, your empathy, your guilt. They've studied you. They've learned the way your mind works, and they know that all they have to do is drop a few well-placed words, maybe shed a single tear, and suddenly, you're the one questioning yourself. Suddenly, you're apologizing, you're explaining, you're justifying, and they sit back and watch, completely unfazed, because they never truly felt bad to begin with. Let me be clear about something. Feeling guilty for walking away from someone who has manipulated, used, and hurt you is not proof that you're doing the wrong thing. It's proof that you have a heart. It's proof that you're a good person. It's proof that you care deeply about others, even when they don't deserve it. But here's the hard truth. Your guilt is a weapon in their hands. And as long as you let it control you, they will use it against you. Every time you hesitate to set a boundary, every time you bite your tongue instead of speaking your truth, every time you go against your own needs just to avoid making them uncomfortable, you're handing them more power. You're letting them dictate your life. You're prioritizing their comfort over your own well-being. And for what? For someone who wouldn't do the same for you? For someone who has proven time and time again that they will take everything you give and still ask for more? It's time to stop. It's time to stop feeling guilty for protecting yourself. It's time to stop feeling guilty for choosing yourself, because you are allowed to say no. You are allowed to walk away. You are allowed to protect your peace, your heart, your sanity. I know it's not easy. I know that little voice in your head is whispering, but what if I'm wrong? What if they really do love me? What if I'm making a mistake? That voice is lying to you. It's the voice of conditioning. It's the voice of every moment you were taught to put others first, to be agreeable, to keep the peace. It's the voice of every time they manipulated you into believing that their happiness was more important than your own. But you know better now, and knowing better means doing better. So the next time that guilt creeps in, the next time you feel that knot in your stomach telling you that you're being mean for standing up for yourself, I want you to ask yourself one thing. Did they ever feel guilty for hurting me? Did they ever hesitate before they cut me down? Did they ever lose sleep over the way they treated me? Did they ever stop to consider how their actions made me feel? If the answer is no, and you know it is, then you have nothing to feel guilty for. You don't owe them your loyalty. You don't owe them your silence. You don't owe them another chance. You owe yourself freedom. You owe yourself peace. You owe yourself the love and respect that they could never give you. So walk away, stand tall, and don't you dare look back. One of the hardest lessons in life, one of the deepest, most painful truths, is realizing that some people will never give you closure, not because you don't deserve it, not because you didn't try hard enough, but because they never intended to give it to you in the first place. There's a certain kind of person who thrives on keeping you in emotional limbo. They vanish without explanation, leaving you to spiral in confusion. They send mixed signals, reappear just enough to spark hope, then pull away again, like you're a puppet on a string. And when you finally gather the courage to ask for answers, to demand clarity, they act as if you're the problem, as if you're overreacting, as if your pain is an inconvenience rather than the result of their deliberate actions. You keep waiting, you keep hoping, you keep replaying every conversation, every interaction, searching for something you might have missed. Was it something you said? Something you did? If you could just find the right words, maybe they'd finally acknowledge the damage they caused. Maybe they'd finally see you, hear you, validate your experience, but they won't, because they don't want to. Because closure would mean accountability, and accountability is something they will never offer. That's the hardest part to accept, that you will never hear the words you long for. You will never get the heartfelt apology, the honest reflection, the genuine remorse. Not because you aren't worthy of it, but because they are incapable of giving it. Not because the relationship wasn't real to you, but because to them it was about control. And that is the truth no one wants to hear. That closure isn't about finding peace in their words. It's about making peace within yourself. Because closure isn't something someone else grants you. It's something you take. It's something you create. It's something you decide. Let me say that again. Closure isn't theirs to give. It's yours to claim. And that is the most powerful shift you can make. The moment you stop chasing answers, the moment you stop looking for validation in the very place that broke you, you take your power back. You stop hoping they'll change. You stop waiting for a conversation that will never happen. You stop putting your healing in someone else's hands and realize it was never in their hands to begin with. Do you know what real closure looks like? It's not a dramatic confrontation. It's not an emotional reckoning where they finally admit their mistakes. Real closure is deciding that you are done waiting, done hoping, done needing anything from them to move forward. It's waking up one morning and realizing you don't need their apology to be free. You don't need their explanation to heal. You don't need them to acknowledge the pain they caused for that pain to lose its grip on you. And let me tell you, when you reach that point, when you finally understand that they never had the power to give you closure in the first place, you become unstoppable. Because here's the thing, a narcissist thrives on control. They keep you tangled in confusion because as long as you're waiting for answers, as long as you're hoping for validation, they still have power over you. The moment you realize you don't need their closure is the moment you break free. The moment you stop looking for understanding from someone who is never capable of giving it, you become the one in control. I know it hurts. I know it feels unfair. I know the injustice of it all can be unbearable. But you have a choice. You can keep replaying the past, keep waiting for something that will never come. Or you can decide right here, right now, that you are enough, that your healing is not dependent on them, that your worth was never tied to their ability to see it. You do not need permission to let go. You do not need validation to move on. You do not need their regret to reclaim your happiness. You can give yourself the closure they refuse to provide. You do it by closing the door. Not just physically, but mentally, emotionally, spiritually. You do it by refusing to engage, refusing to seek, refusing to let their inability to grow keep you from growing. You do it by rewriting the story, by shifting the narrative from, I never got closure to, I gave myself the closure I needed. And when you do that, when you truly, finally do that, You step into a version of yourself that is stronger, wiser, freer than you ever imagined possible. Because here's the truth no one tells you. Closure isn't an ending. It's a beginning. It's the moment you decide that your healing, your peace, your future is not dependent on anyone but you. And that is the most powerful realization you will ever have. Some of you have been living your lives waiting for scraps of love, for the smallest gestures of kindness, for the most minimal effort from the people around you. You've convinced yourself that a little is better than nothing, that the occasional moment of warmth can make up for the cold reality you endure every single day. You've settled for words with no weight, for promises that crumble, for affection that comes only when it's convenient for them. And I have to ask you, why? Why do you allow yourself to exist in a space where your worth is measured in the tiniest, most meaningless gestures? Why do you believe this is all you are meant for? Let's be clear. You were not born to beg for love. You were not put on this earth to tolerate inconsistency, to live in a cycle of temporary highs followed by soul-crushing lows. You are not meant to feel grateful for breadcrumbs when you are capable of feasting at a table of abundance. Yet so many of you have been conditioned to believe that accepting the bare minimum is better than having nothing at all. But let me tell you something. Nothing is better than something that breaks you. Nothing is better than a love that starves you instead of nourishing you. It's time to be honest with yourself. Think about the relationships you've held on to, the people you've allowed to stay in your life despite the damage they've done. Think about the moments you've convinced yourself that their silence was not rejection, that their neglect was not abandonment. How many times have you whispered to yourself, maybe they'll change, maybe they'll love me better tomorrow, maybe I just need to be more patient? How many times have you excused their behavior because leaving felt more terrifying than staying? And yet, despite all your patience, despite all your endurance, nothing ever changes, does it? Because people don't change when there's no consequence. They don't change when they know you always stay, no matter how much they hurt you. They don't change when they believe they can get away with doing the absolute least. And the truth is, they don't have to change. It's not your job to make someone love you properly. It's not your responsibility to teach someone how to treat you with the respect you already deserve. That's not love. That's survival. And you were not meant to simply survive. You were meant to thrive. The problem isn't them. It's not the people who continue to offer you less than you deserve. It's the fact that you keep accepting it. It's the fact that you have convinced yourself this is all life has to offer. It's the fact that you have chosen to stay in a space where you are not valued, where your love is taken for granted, where your kindness is a currency they spend freely without ever returning it. And the only way that changes is if you change. You have to decide that you will no longer be an afterthought, that you will no longer be a convenience, that you will no longer shrink yourself to fit into someone else's limited capacity for love. You have to decide that you deserve more, and then you have to act like it. And that means walking away. I know it's hard. I know it's terrifying to leave behind the comfort of the familiar, even when the familiar is painful. I know the thought of starting over feels like a mountain too steep to climb. But what's the alternative? Another year of feeling unseen? Another decade of hoping for a change that will never come? A lifetime of giving all of yourself to people who only ever give you their leftovers? You have to ask yourself, if you continue to accept the bare minimum, what will your life look like in 5 years, in 10? Will you look back and realize you spent your entire existence waiting for people to love you properly? Will you regret the time you wasted, the energy you poured into people who were never capable of loving you the way you deserved? Or will you make the decision today, right now, to demand more? The love you crave exists. The respect you long for is real. The life you dream of is possible. But you will never have it if you continue to settle. You will never experience it if you keep making excuses for people who refuse to show up for you. You will never reach it if you don't walk away from everything and everyone that makes you feel small. This is your wake-up call. No one is coming to save you. No one is going to hand you the life you deserve. You have to fight for it. You have to choose it. You have to believe that there is something better waiting for you on the other side of fear, because there is. But you'll never know it if you don't take that first step. So I'm asking you now, what will it be? Will you continue to accept the bare minimum? Will you keep convincing yourself that at least they try sometimes is enough? Or will you finally stand up and say, I deserve more, and actually mean it? The choice is yours. But know this, your future, your happiness, your peace, your love, your life, they all depend on what you decide right now.